Hello there, I'm Scotty. You're not. Hold on. A little bit. I'm never able to get this right. Welcome back to Halloween Horror Month. We were on a movie that is, after watching it, I would say it's not a horror movie. It's more of a suspenseful thriller. A thriller, in a sense. But I think it definitely fits in with, Halloween Horror Month. It's got a, overall suspenseful, dark tone to it. Came out in 1953. It's a Rear Window. I think I said Rear Window. It came out in 1954. I don't know why I said 3. 1954 stars Jimmy Stewart, Grace Kelly, Raymond Burr, and it's directed by Alfred Hitchcock, of course. And so when it comes to Alfred Hitchcock, I've seen Psycho, I've seen The Birds, and I've seen this one. The Birds we actually watched in school, believe it or not. I mean, I think it is a PG movie, but before PG-13 was the thing. And I've said this before that I rarely go back to older movies like this. However, surprisingly, I was able to get into this pretty quick. It's not what you would call a thriller by definition of constantly stuff happening. It's more of a slow burn thriller. You have Jimmy Stewart playing this character, Jeff. He has Jeffries is his last name, but he's called Jeff. He has a broken leg from something we don't think we ever find out. I don't think we ever find out why he has a broken leg, but he does. He has 1 week left. He's stuck in his apartment, and also all he can do, he's in this little studio apartment. So all he can do is look out the window. He's got no TV. I think he's got a radio, but he's looking out his window. And what I was shocked to find out was actually a set and not actually an apartment complex. It's a set. Wow. But you see a lot of shots of the other tenants in their windows, and it automatically, of course, reminded me of Disturbia because, he's looking at... But in this case, he's got the broken leg, so he can't move in a sense that, we never... Unlike Disturbia, we never leave his apartment. Everything is from his apartment. We get the view from his apartment. We see other apartments. We don't go into them in a sense that we cut to another camera and we follow them. No. It is from the view of that apartment. And I gotta hand it to all the actors, especially Raymond Burr, for having to act with a camera far away from you. Having to just wait for it, What was that? And Raymond Burr especially, because he is, for all intents and purposes, the villain of this film. With very bad grayed up hair. I don't know why Raymond Burr has this hair. Now, Jimmy Stewart has little patches of gray, which you could say is real, or they could have made him look older. But Raymond Burr, they grayed his hair in the 1950s graying hair. Oh, boy. They weren't so good at aging people back then. And all they do is put this white gray stuff in his hair. But he plays very well from a distance as this villain. You're not sure if he's done what... his name is Thorwald. No N. Thorwald. But you're not sure what he has done. If he has done it or what's going on. Jeff, he starts to deduce that Thorwald murdered his wife, Thorwald's wife, and put her somewhere. Now, he eventually gets his girlfriend, played by Grace Kelly, Lisa, played by Grace Kelly, and his caretaker lady that helps him, nurse, I guess, Stella, to help him out. Stella's really kind of the first one to sort of be into it, but not really. And then when he tries, I do like the scene, right? When he's talking with Lisa, he's trying to convince her, but she's like, no, there's nothing. And then they're having this conversation. They're still kind of arguing, and she stops, and she stares. And he turns around, and you see that Thorwald has this giant trunk. A trunk that you would think could fit a person in, and that's when it hits her. Now, of course, we find out later that that trunk had clothes in it. All of Mrs. Thorwald's clothes, which, okay, so I think, I didn't think it was going to be, but a constant issue between this and Disturbia is the cops. It's a different kind of issue with Disturbia. I'll get to it in my review again. But with this one, this movie's almost 2 hours long, and it is a slow build. There's some things you could take out, but the cops, I have an issue. So he's got a friend, an old war friend who's a cop, a lieutenant. He talks to him about it, Doyle. He talks to him, calls him Tom Doyle. This is before Halloween, remember that. But anyway, he's talking to him, and he's trying to tell him what's going on, and he keeps dispelling this. Well, maybe this happened, maybe this. And he just sort of pushes everything away that Jeff is trying to tell him. He's just dismissing everything that he's saying about this. And as I'm watching this, I'm like, okay, this is just so we can draw out the thing. Because he's like, well, I have to get a warrant. You know, what does he hate to get a warrant? Bloody footprints on the steps leading to his apartment. You know, just, it does take a lot. But he does sort of investigate some stuff, but he doesn't find any evidence, you know, short of going into the apartment and looking. And then he brings up, Jeff notices that he's laying out all his clothes like he's going to pack it somewhere. Like he's going to go, like he's going to leave, take off, go somewhere, whatever. I think the guy's lease was close to being up anyway, but then he's like, then they find a bag. He's got a bag, Mrs. Thorwald's bag, with jewelry in it. And it is Lisa who says that a woman never goes anywhere without all her jewelry. It's a woman's intuition. And when they... I was going to say this. The chemistry between Jimmy Stewart and Grace Kelly is phenomenal. They have a great chemistry together. There are scenes where you think he's trying to talk her out of staying the night, but she's like, I'm going to stay the night. She's like, well, what do you mean? You say one more thing, and I'll stay for the whole weekend. And he says something else, and he smiles, you know, like. But then he's like, well, what do I tell my landlord? I mean, you gotta tell your landlord when someone's staying over. I don't know. I think landlords are that involved. I mean, I can have, in my building, I can have someone over for at least 2 days. Then they have to go somewhere else. It's a weird thing. I think in a regular apartment situation, because I live in special situation, special needs housing. But, because I'm autistic, But, did I mention that before? I'm not trying to. Anyway. But I think in a regular apartment situation, it's your apartment. You pay the rent. You should be able to have whoever stay the night. I understand if they're staying for a long time, but staying one night or even for a weekend should be fine. I understand if they're living with you, that's going to be an issue, but they're going to have to start paying rent. But, but if they're staying with you for the night or a couple days, it should be fine. But, it's just that scene, Anyway, so they try to tell him, what's going on, and he's like, well, I can't just go by women's intuition on things, I've done it too many times and it's led me the wrong way or something like that. There's another scene I want to point out where Doyle is looking out the window at the, what do you call her? Well, the woman is always dancing in the window and he's looking at her, and Jeff just goes, how's the wife? And he just kind of looks at her. Yeah, and I think there is some great suspense in here. At one point, again, it's going to mirror something that's in this, but at one point, Lisa goes over to look at the apartment. She doesn't really find anything. Because they think that the wedding ring, because when he was watching, when they saw the purse, or bag, bag, as they called it, he says he put out some rings. So if the wedding ring was there, that could prove that, because a woman never goes anywhere without the wedding ring. And they, because they even asked Stella, who's there at that point, you go anywhere without your wedding ring? She goes, if anyone wanted to take this, they'd have to cut my finger off. And then she kind of looks at the window like, oh, shit. Like, maybe she's come to the realization now that, she was having fun with this detective thing, but now maybe she's come to the realization that shit's getting real. So, Jeff decides to buy them 15 minutes, which maybe in movie time it was, but not in real time. He was back quicker, but he calls, which I guess I never probably met, so we wouldn't be able to tell by the voice, but he calls him and tells him he's at a hotel. It's probably 15 minutes away. He leaves, and so Stella and Lisa go over. And the thing is that one of the neighbor's dogs is found dead. Now, they live on the second floor, and she puts it in a basket and lowers it down to go to the bathroom. And I'm wondering, how well behaved is that dog that you can do that and it won't run away? This is in the Greenwich Village, so I don't know. Anyway, so the dog winds up dead, and then they find out that maybe the dog was digging for something. When they dig up, the garden, there's nothing there. But they did say that the flowers weren't growing, so they think maybe it's been dug up before. Although you can always tell when something's been dug up. Even if you try to put it back, you won't be able to put it back. It's like a broken piece, something that's made of glass that you break and try to put together, or porcelain. You try to, like a porcelain mug, you try to put it together. It won't ever go back the way you want it to. So I don't know. But then Lisa gets the bright idea to go into the apartment and look for the wedding rings. And guess what? He happens to come back home. And she's found out. So he calls the local police, not his friend, and tells them that a woman is about to be assaulted at Thorwald's apartment. The cops show up, but Thorwald is smart and tells them that she was breaking into his apartment. But she's found the ring, and she kind of, points at it. Like she's got the ring, but he's caught on and realizes someone's watching him. Which, look, if I got a phone call, first of all, they leave because Lisa sneaks up before and leaves a note. And so, it's got to be one of his neighbors. If he was smart enough, he'd figure out it's one of his neighbors that's doing this. If they know what's going on, if they can see what's going on, right? So, after what happens, and this thing kind of bothered me, is he and Stella are there, and they see this, and Stella goes to bail Lisa out of the police, of the jail. I can't think of the word. Of the jail. And Jeff stays behind, of course, because he's in a wheelchair. He never leaves the apartment. We never see him leave the apartment. And we never leave the apartment. We see them leave. And then we see outside the window, but we never actually leave, But, so he gets on the phone, right? Whatever happened to my phone? My fake phone. Was a real phone. Here it is. Oh, well, here it is. So he gets on the phone, and he's like this. Tom. He saw me. He's whispering. He's whispering the entire time to him, telling him what's going on, and he finally gets him convinced. He's like, Lisa got arrested by local police. She's taken away. She has the wedding ring. She has the wedding ring, and then he finally is convinced. But this is where I have my biggest issue, because it doesn't make a lot of sense. Also, because of the way that certain things worked back in 1954. So, Thorwald has figured out that it's Jeff. He goes to Jeff's apartment, and Jeff uses the flash bulbs on his camera, because he's a photographer, to get it. Now, it goes like this. Puts the flash bulb in. Flash! puts the flashbulb in, just keeps walking towards him. Flashbulb in. Flash! He covers his eyes. Like, Jeff covers his eyes every time. Keeps walking toward him. And again, flash! It's like, first of all, why aren't you closing your eyes and running at him? Now, I understand that Jeff can move out of the way and he can go out the window, which in case, troubles will be over. But again, eventually the guy gets the best of him. He's going to throw him. But before he can do that, he sees that that they've gone, that they've gotten Lisa out of the jail and they've gone to Thorwell's apartment. Why he would bring Lisa to Thorwell's apartment is beyond me. But he yells out, "Lisa, Tom!" And they can hear him, even though they're in the hallway. All the windows are open, but like the hallway window is open. By the way, who has a window right there in the hallway? I mean, there's a window in the hallway, but it's all the way down. You could sort of see, but that doesn't open. I don't know. All the windows open because they're in a heat wave. So that explains why all the windows are open all the time. You know. But, yeah, the cops come over. Because everybody, okay, so here's the thing. He throws Jeff out the window, and on Wikipedia it says that the cops break his fall. No. The cops barely get there to catch him. And the next time we see Jeff, he's got 2 casts. He gotta have a broken back or something. Like, I don't know. He might be confined to that wheelchair. I don't know. It doesn't seem like they softened the blow in any way. He's on like the 2nd floor, but he's 2 stories up, so I don't know. But they arrest him, and this is off screen too. This is the one time we actually leave the apartment with Jeff. He's on the screen. He's on the street, and he says that he confessed everything. He said that he killed the dog because the dog got too close to it. Whatever was buried in there, he moved it to a hat box in his apartment. But why didn't Lisa find that? She wasn't looking for that, but you know. But yeah, and there's a final scene where Lisa's reading a book and realizes Jeff's asleep and starts reading a magazine. I don't know what that's supposed to be about, but talk about the score here. The score is actually pretty good. It's an old 50s score, but it works. I don't know who did the music, but... And there's also some great shots, because there's a lot of times where you're just going from apartment to apartment, watching his neighbors do stuff. And at one point, Jeff starts to realize that maybe he shouldn't be seeing too much, because he watches as one of the women in the place, an older woman, has a date with a younger man, and he assaults her. I believe she fights him off, but he's just kind of like, maybe we shouldn't see too much of people's private lives, but he could have called the cops then and say, "Hey, this woman, she's getting assaulted." Like, he does it for his girlfriend, but not, But yeah, this is pretty good. I thought it was very well done. Very well done, and nice for a first watch. I was hesitant to watch this because of the length and how old it was, but you know what? It's pretty good. It was pretty good. So, what are your thoughts on Rear Window? In the comments below, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching. I've been Scotty, and up next, we're going to revisit this baby. I wanted to for a while now, so. Anyway, I'll see you in the next one. Thank you for watching. I've been Scotty. I'll see you next one. I don't remember.